Port Charles, a city built on secrets, loyalties, and betrayals, is about to be rocked by yet another scandal that no one saw coming. And at the center, Drew Kane, Curtis Ashford, Jacinda, and the ever-enigmatic Kai. Buckle up, because what starts as a single whispered tip is about to spiral into a bombshell revelation that could burn everything to the ground. It all began with Curtis Ashford fighting to protect what matters most to him, his family, his club, and the fragile hold he still has on respect in Port Charles. After recent tragedies, including Portia's shocking demise and the ongoing fallout from his entanglements with Sonny and Selena Wu, Curtis has found himself in a corner. Jacinda, a woman who knows too much about Curtis's business dealings, especially his alleged laundering for Selena Wu and his past association with mob activities, saw her opportunity. Sources say Jacinda demanded hush money from Curtis, threatening to expose everything unless he paid her a small fortune. Curtis, known for being cool under pressure, initially tried to reason with her. But Jacinda held all the cards, or so she thought. Desperation has a funny way of pushing even the strongest to make mistakes, and for Curtis, that mistake was letting himself be seen. Enter Kai. Mysterious, resourceful, and always 2 steps ahead, Kai caught wind of Curtis and Jacinda's late-night meeting at an old waterfront warehouse. It wasn't a place you'd expect the club owner to frequent, unless something shady was happening. Kai has never been one to sit back and watch, especially when the fallout could benefit him. Instead of confronting Curtis, Kai quietly reached out to Drew Kane. Kai's motivations? That's the million-dollar question. Maybe he wanted to weaken Curtis's power, maybe he wanted to build leverage of his own, or maybe it was something even darker. But Kai's tip, a simple text with an address and a warning. Curtis. Jacinda. Tonight. Bring a recorder. Set events in motion that none of them could predict. Drew Kane, ever the reluctant hero, was torn. Curtis had once been his ally, a friend who stood by him during some of Port Charles's darkest hours. But Drew's instinct for protecting the truth, and perhaps a little bit of old Navy SEAL discipline, won out. Late that night, Drew slipped into the shadows near the warehouse. What he captured on his phone was explosive. Curtis, voice low but unmistakable, offering Jacinda a payoff in exchange for her silence about crimes that could send him to prison and destroy the Savoy's already fragile reputation. What Drew didn't count on was the raw, haunted look in Curtis's eyes. A man doing what he felt he had to do, not for greed, but for survival. The fallout promises to be massive. Drew now holds evidence that could shatter Curtis's life. But exposing Curtis could also open Drew up to retaliation from powerful enemies, including Selena Wu, who would do anything to keep her business clean on the surface. And Jacinda? She's playing her own dangerous game. She knows someone else must have been nearby that night, and she's desperate to figure out who. If Jacinda learns it was Drew, she could blackmail him in turn, setting off a cycle of secrets and threats that spirals out of control. And then there's Kai, the silent architect behind it all. His tip put Drew in the right place at the right time, but why? Some insiders speculate Kai wants to take over Curtis's territory, using the tape as leverage to force Curtis out of the club business entirely. Others whisper that Kai has connections to a larger crime family outside Port Charles, and that destabilizing Curtis is just step one. Whatever Kai's true endgame, one thing is clear: Curtis never saw it coming. For Drew, the recording is a ticking time bomb in his pocket, one that weighs heavy on his conscience. Curtis isn't a monster. He's a man cornered by circumstance, loss, and regret. But Drew also knows what Curtis did is wrong, and turning a blind eye could make Drew complicit. Curtis, once he learns of the betrayal, and rest assured, spoilers hint it will come out, is rumored to confront Drew in a confrontation that could destroy years of trust. Port Charles insiders suggest that Curtis might accuse Drew of being no better than those he claims to fight, and Drew might fire back, reminding Curtis that bribes and secrets are how the mob thrives, the very thing Curtis claimed to oppose. As for Jacinda, don't count her out yet. Spoilers say she's already plotting her next move. If Curtis can't or won't keep paying, she might pivot to Kai himself, offering information in exchange for protection. Or worse, she might discover that Drew was the one recording her and Curtis and decide to publicly expose him, putting Drew's family, Scout, and his fragile standing in Port Charles at risk. The beauty and heartbreak of this storyline is in its shades of gray. Drew wants to do the right thing, but what is the right thing? Curtis wants to protect his family, but in doing so, he crossed a legal and moral line. Jacinda wants power and security, but her methods could destroy innocent lives. And Kai? His loyalty is to himself, and Port Charles may learn that the hard way. If Drew's recording goes public, it could set off a domino effect. Curtis could lose the Savoy and face criminal charges. Selena Wu, desperate to protect her interests, might target Drew, Jacinda, or even Kai. Drew could find himself pulled deeper into the mob world, forced to choose sides he never wanted to take. Kai could emerge as the city's next major power player, or meet a violent end if he overplays his hand. And then there are those closest to Curtis. Trina, already grieving the loss of Portia and struggling with her own secrets, might finally see her father as the flawed man he truly is. Jordan, who still cares for Curtis despite everything, could be pulled into the fallout, especially if Curtis faces legal consequences. Spoilers tease emotional scenes where Curtis tries to justify his choices to Trina, only to see the disappointment and hurt in her eyes. One of the most chilling spoilers suggests Kai will confront Curtis directly in coming weeks, cryptically telling him, "Power isn't free, Curtis. It never was." Whether that means Kai plans to collect a debt or destroy Curtis entirely remains to be seen. Will Curtis try to turn the tables on Kai? Go after Jacinda to silence her once and for all? Attempt to make amends and come clean before the recording leaks? Insiders say Curtis is at his most dangerous when desperate, and we might see him consider options that would have once been unthinkable. If Drew chooses to expose the recording, he won't be alone, but his allies may be reluctant. Sam, always Drew's moral compass, might urge caution. Carly, known for protecting her own, might help Drew navigate the mob fallout. Sunny, surprisingly, could become a silent protector, if only because Drew's move could destabilize Selena Wu, Sunny's current rival. Win or lose, both men will be forever changed. Drew could see himself becoming the very kind of man he despises. Curtis, forced to face the consequences of desperation, could lose not just his freedom but the love and respect of those who matter most. Viewers love to speculate, and here are the hottest theories. Kai is secretly working for an even bigger villain, possibly Cyrus Renaud or a new character tied to the mob. The recording was never Kai's endgame. It's bait to force Drew and Curtis into conflict so Kai can step into the power vacuum. Jacinda could switch sides and become Kai's lover or right hand, betraying Curtis completely. The recording exists. Kai knows it. Jacinda suspects it. Curtis fears it. And Drew? He must decide when or if to use it. One wrong move, and the fragile balance of power in Port Charles could collapse, pulling everyone down in the wreckage. The next few weeks promise heartbreak, betrayals, and choices that can't be undone. By the time the dust settles, Curtis may no longer be the man he once was. Drew may sacrifice friendships for truth. Kai's true motives will finally be revealed. And Jacinda? She might emerge from the chaos with more power than ever, or disappear under mysterious circumstances. What began with a single text from Kai has become a powder keg ready to blow. Drew Kane's secret recording of Curtis bribing Jacinda could destroy reputations and friendships and spark a new mob war in Port Charles. Stay tuned, because on General Hospital, the line between hero and villain has never been thinner, and once the truth comes out, no one will be safe.